Hi guys, it's 7 o'clock and welcome to, what day is it? Forgot. The Tuesday night fellowship meeting here at Solace. My name's Francis and I'm still a drug addicted alcoholic. Thank you. If anyone's got a mobile phone or a smartphone, can you please put it on silent so it's not to disturb the meeting? Thank you. And in fellowship, we go round and introduce ourselves by our first name only. This is not to embarrass anybody, it's so we get to know each other on a first name basis. And when you go to outside meetings, you get used to saying your name. My name's Francis and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Rory.
My name's Eva, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Eva.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm Lou, I'm an addict.
Hi, Lou. Hi, John. Hi, Magnus. Hi, Luke. Hi, Pim.
Stephen addict.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Phil. Hi, Fad.
Stephanie, addict.
Hi, Stephanie.
I'm Oliver, hypnotist.
Hi, Oliver. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, I'm James, I'm an addict.
Hi, James.
Jimmy addict.
Hi, Jimmy.
Jana, addict.
Hi,
Hi, Jana.
Hi, I'm Vicky, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Vicky.
I'm Danny. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Danny.
Cocaine addict, slash.
Slash.
All that
Yeah.
stuff.
Can we just have a few moments silence to bring us into the room and to remember there's still suffering alcoholics and addicts still out there. Thank you. Thank you. The format of tonight's meeting is Danny F has kindly come along from Oklahoma / New York City. I was doing the convention up the road at the weekend to share with us his experience, strength and hope. And he's asked me to share also that he's going to do a small share and do a Q&A. So we'll answer your questions and answer back. Okay? And with that, I shall leave the floor open to Danny. Thank you.
I think there's one more person who didn't get to introduce themselves over there.
David, alcoholic.
Hi, David.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, guys. It's good to be here with you. I'm Danny, alcoholic.
Hi, Danny.
So, this is a nice place. The food was very good. Thank you. And oh, you made that, Lou?
Oh, Magnus.
Oh, Maggie. Oh,
They shared the food.
salmon was off the hook. I'm a foodie, so if I say the food is good, it's a really good sign. So anyway, look, I'm sober. Actually, when I was on the plane yesterday was my 31st year. So
Go on. Well done. Yes.
So that was yesterday. So today I'm well into my 32nd year of sobriety. This is actually my 32nd holiday season because I got sober right Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, and I was the type of addict that I would have ripped your heart out for another hit of dope. You know, nothing would have stopped me from getting high. So the miracle is that this program really works. And in our literature, in the big book, it talks about miracles more than once. It mentions miracles, and so I'm a miracle. Francis is a miracle. People that have been sober for a while is a miracle. The fact that you guys are here, even if you only have a day or 2 days or whatever you have, you're a miracle. Because if you weren't here, where would you be? You'd be getting high, right? You'd be doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So the miracle has already started for you. So it's just a matter of getting in touch with that and realizing that. And I'm gonna, I think you guys are gonna be at the convention, right? Yeah. So you're gonna hear me share my story, and you're gonna hear me. So I'm not gonna do that here with you tonight. I thought the best thing that I could do for you guys, because I've been over the years and going to treatment centers and helping people for years and years. In fact, when I first got sober, I never had a job in my life when I got sober. And to this day, I've only had one job, and that was a counselor in the treatment center for 5 years. We had gotten a grant from the government to open a long-term treatment facility for women and their children. And I think we got $7 million for 5 years. And this was when Ronald Reagan was the president in America. And it was a great program because a big thing with ladies is they don't seek recovery because they have no place to put their kids. They don't know what to do with their kids. So they'd move into the facility with their children. And we had a child psychiatrist, we had daycare, we had school for them, and then the mothers would, we'd work with the mothers. And so I did that. It was a 5-year grant, and at the end of the 5 years, Bill Clinton was the president, and he didn't renew our thing, so we had to close the place down. But we had a great track record. There's still ladies today that I'm in touch with that went through that program 25 years ago, whenever it was. So that was my only job I ever had. Otherwise, I worked for myself. I think places like this are so important to get you acclimated into, I think the best thing that you can come in contact with or get grasp of in a place like this is that it give you a little time to get your head clear and realize that your way don't work. There's not one of you in this room, myself included, that could sit here and tell you my way works. My way works a lot better today, 31 years later, than it did then, but it still don't work. So each morning I got to get up and I got to get in touch with my God. And that's what I do each morning, because left with my own devices, I run through that wall 100 miles an hour thinking this time it's going to be different, and it's not going to be different. So this is a program that's a daily program. It's something that you have to do. You don't have to look at it for the rest of your life. All you have to look at it is for today. Because when you were here, at this point in your recovery, thinking the rest of your life is a long time, I got to do this every day forever? No. You just got to do it right now. And right now is actually the only time that you're going to ever be able to find God, right this moment. You're not going to be able to find God 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes from now. But right this minute, you can get in touch with God. And right this minute, you can get in touch with recovery. And right this minute, you could do something positive for your life. And that's what you got to come to grips with. So understanding that your way don't work is very important. If you think your way works, what the hell are you doing here? I never woke up one day and said, my life is great, I think I'll join AA. My life is great, I think I'll go to a treatment facility. For me, going into treatment was my absolute last thing on the list that I wanted to do. I tried everything humanly possible not to wind up in a place like this. But this is where I wound up. So something tells me right there that it wasn't me. Something was intervening in my life. God was giving me a moment of clarity to do something with myself. And because of my own devices, I never would have went to treatment. And in fact, when I was there, the second day I was there, I got up to leave. And I'll share that with you guys on Saturday. But I got up to leave because some old lady came in and said something stupid, and I went, my life was a wreck. I had nothing. I ruined everything in my life, yet I thought what she was saying was stupid. I don't need to hear this shit. And I got up to leave, and I can't tell you how I didn't leave, except to tell you that the angels came and stopped me, or God did something. It may sound stupid to you, but I believe that today. When I share my story on Saturday, I'll share about God and angels and stuff, because I believe that today. I'm in touch with all that stuff today. So that's where I wound up, and I did 28 days in the hospital there, and that was November 21st, 1991. It's amazing. If that's not a miracle, listen, if you knew me then, you would say this guy is never, ever going to make it. He ain't going to make 28 days. Forget about 28 years. And here I am 31 years later, well into my 32nd year. Yeah. And that's it. And because this thing really does work. So we have a program. It's written down in the book. You don't have to come up with a formula. You don't have to come up with a great plan. You just got to take the directions out of the book, put them in your life, and your life will change. Way beyond your wildest dream. I tell you this. You probably never see me again. Let's just stay sober. Maybe 5-10 years from now, I'll be at a convention and you'll be there. Otherwise, you'll never see me again. But I promise you this. If you do what this program asks you to do, your life is going to change way beyond your wildest dreams. You couldn't even write down right now how good your life will be 5 years from now if you're still doing this deal. And if you're anything like me, you couldn't write down how your life would be 1 year from now. But so the program is there. It's written down for us. All you got to do is take it out of the book, put it in your life, and your life is going to change. And you're gonna feel different. You're gonna be different. And that's what a spiritual awakening is. It's being about being able to do, feel, and be like you've never been able to do, feel, or be before. Right? So that's what we do here. We take broken men and women and we put them back together again. That's what recovery is all about. So I think the best thing I could do for you today is just help you answer. I'm sure everybody's got a question about the big book or the 12 steps or recovery or sponsorship or something like that. And I think this time would best be used helping you answer those questions for you. So who wants to go first? Look, there's a whole room full of people and they all got a million questions in their head, yet nobody wants to raise their hand. Don't be shy.
I'll ask you the questions, Harry. My name's Francis. I'm an addict. By the grace of God, strong sponsorship and a 12-step program, I haven't had nothing today, which is a miracle that you talk about. When was the moment that you think the penny dropped for you, that you went from the darkness into the light? Was there a particular moment?
I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you. I did have a aha moment when I got a year sober and I had picked up a year chip. And it was funny because where I went, I was in New York at the time, and my home group, you know, you would they'd give you a cake, they'd bring out a cake, and everybody would sing happy birthday to you. And so when I had a year sober, I had written down on a piece of paper, I had a whole speech written down I was going to get up and say, because, you know, they ask you how you did it, you know, and it's supposed to be like a minute, you know. So I wrote this thing, so they said, how'd you do it, Dan? And I took this paper out, and the guy said, sit down, we don't care how you did it. But when I got that year chip, I realized where had we been in that year, how my life had changed in that year. It was actually before that. Now that you asked me that, you got me thinking. No, it was a year. Right around a year sober, I got arrested by the federal government for wreckage of the past, and they came and locked me up, and they put me in a cell. And just to give you a little bit about me, I've been a juvenile delinquent. I've got lots of years in prison, and I've been getting locked up. By the time I was 16, I had 2 years locked away in a cell, juvenile places, and so I've been getting locked up my whole life. Just give me a cigarette, give me something to read, and I'll be fine, you know. And I had it right around a year sober, and they put me in a cell, and I knew that the lawyer was making bail for me. So I knew I was getting out that day, or maybe the next day, you know. And I felt different. I felt like I didn't belong there. I knew I had changed. And I felt very uncomfortable in a prison cell. And I had never in my life to that moment felt uncomfortable in a prison cell. Because in my line of work, it was what we called an occupational hazard. This is what you do for a living, this is where you wind up. Kind of like a carpenter might bang his finger one day with the hammer. Well, if you did what I did, you wind up in jail. And that was just par for the course. And I felt very uncomfortable. That was my aha moment. And actually, I think I'd gotten my year chip a few weeks before that. And I knew then that I had changed. That's a good question, though.
Thank you.
Who else got a question? Come on, somebody got a question.
Pim.
Yes. What's your name?
My name is Pim.
Pin?
Pim, Jim with a P.
Jim with a P.
Jim with a P.
Okay, Pim.
What do you do in the days or the moments that something hits you, a tragedy, or you lose somebody? Can you then turn to God? Or?
That's a good question. So if you're recording this, I'll repeat that.
Yeah.
You want to know what happens when a tragedy happens in your life. You know what that is, Pim? That's life. You know, that's just part of life. You know, people I love dearly. Listen, I have 2 English bulldogs at home. And one of them was 15 years old. She just died like 2 months ago. That is so... I could think of a dozen people I'd rather see die than my dog. Maybe more than a dozen, right off the top of my head. Why didn't he die or she die? Why my dog? But 15 years old for a bulldog is a long time. And I had it since she was a little baby. So, and that's recent. And I still was hit with it. But I've had people that I really love and care for die in this program. It's just part of life. It's just, there's no different between when you talk about, losing a job or getting a new relationship or whatever it is. It's just part of life, As tragic as it may seem. In recovery, though, you have tools to deal with it. You talk to your sponsor, you talk to people in the rooms, you sit down and you talk to God, you make a relationship with God, and you just go about doing the next right thing. You have to learn how to grieve, We, as alcoholics and addicts, we have a hard time understanding how to let go of people. I have a 2-part relationship workshop online, and one of the things I share in there is that people like us, we don't know how to, we get into relationships before we should, and we stay in them way after we should. And so we got to know how to let go. And somebody dying or something tragic happening is as sad as it is. It's just the nature of life. It's just another thing, If you're not spiritually fit, you'll use it as an excuse to go back out. I can't tell you how many people over the years I've been in a meeting with, and they said, I'm just coming back in. I fell off the ladder. I hurt my back. The doctor put me on pills, and I was abusing them. And listen, I couldn't walk for 2 years sober. I had a thing. I had back surgery. I had 2 back surgeries. They gave me pills that were like heroin. It was so powerful. But I took them as prescribed. I got through it. And, I'm much better today. So if you do the right thing and you stay with recovery first in your head, you get through anything, no matter what it is. Good question now.
Thanks, Bim.
Okay, yeah, so okay. So
What's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
When you bulldog died, does it somewhere in your head pop up like, oh God, I just want to get fucked, I want to drink my head out?
No, maybe if I was a couple months sober, maybe that would have came into play, but no, not at this stage of my recovery, no. And even as the way I remember back then, a year or so sober, no, I'm in recovery. Recovery is my life, So here's let me say this to you guys. This is very important. You remember, if you don't remember anything I say, then remember this. What you have to learn how to do is fit your life around recovery. Not try to fit recovery around your life. Okay? If you didn't hear anything else from me tonight, right? Remember that one. Very important. Because that's what happens to people like us. We come in the rooms and we're so busy, we're so important, we've got so many things going on that we try to fit recovery around our life, and it never works. It's never going to work. If that's what you're doing, you're never going to make that work. You have to make recovery the top priority in your life. When am I going to a meeting? I know what day and what time. When am I going to see my sponsor? When am I going to read the book? And then the rest of my life I put around that. And I don't care what you do for a living. I know people in recovery that do from people that are broke to people that are billionaires. And all of them that are successful do the same thing. They build their life around recovery. And if you do that, none of that shit comes into play. You can't, remember that old Bobby Brown song, Can't Touch This? Can't touch this.
Yeah.
My dog, who I love more than people, died. I cried for weeks. For weeks. But that's called grieving. That's okay. You can grieve. Never once did it come into my head, my dog's dead, I need a drink. No.
No, I came into rehab because my dog drowned at the age of 4, just in July, so I came here.
Yeah. It's horrible. When you lose an animal like that, to me, it's just horrible. I wasn't joking when I said I know a dozen people I'd rather see die than my dog. Because Good question, though. That's good. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. You mentioned that along in your journey you experienced spiritual awakening and you got connected with God and angels. And so I just wanted to ask you, what was the manifestation of this? Like, what are the examples? Like, how did you feel that you were connected or you were connected? And if you could just
How do you get connected?
yeah,
to
can
the
you give
awakening?
examples of this like spiritual awakening?
Well, the 12 steps take you there.
Okay.
You know,
Mhm.
the 12 steps says what? Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, right? So that's a promise, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book has lots of promises. And what it's promising you in the 12th step is if you do these first 11 steps, you're going to awaken spiritually. And I think I already shared what that means, awaken spiritually. It's being able to do, be, and act like you've never been able to do, be, and act before, right? So I act and I do and I am somebody that I've never been able to be before I was sober. That's awakening spiritually. Most people spend their entire life asleep. I'm serious when I say that. I'm not just talking about alcoholics and addicts. Regular people. They grow up in their sleep, they get married in their sleep, they have kids in their sleep, they work and retire in their sleep, and they never ever wake up to what really life is really about. They just go through the motions. In recovery, we have the ability to find out who and what we really can be. And we become whoever we want to in recovery. You see, the key to becoming who you want to be is first experiencing who you don't want to be. So when you, and every last one of you guys, I don't have to know you. If you're sitting here, I already know. You have experienced who you don't want to be. So now, what does that mean? That means, well, if you have that experience, now what? If you do this stuff, you can become who you want to be. But if you don't understand who you don't want to be yet, just for instance, when I first got sober, I tell you I spent a lot of years locked up, right? And again, that never bothered me. It was just the way I lived. But I started realizing, I don't want to be a prisoner no more. Then I started realizing, not only do I not want to be a prisoner physically, I don't want to be a prisoner mentally. And so I'm firm about that little one aspect of my life. I don't want to be that. So from there, I can start doing things and live in a way that's not going to put me there no more. You understand? And the same thing happens with every other aspect of your life. You first experience who you don't want to be, and from there, now you could press change and rearrange and be something else, and you become who you really want to be. And as you grow spiritually, you learn who you want to be. It's a wonderful journey. I highly recommend it. Stick around. It'll happen for you too. We're not special. It happens to anybody that really applies themselves. Good questions, though. Good questions.
Jimmy Hilton.
Kevin. All right, you're next.
Just wondering, you spoke about your old life and the life you used to live. And that life, I'm sure there's some madness attached to it and some mayhem. How did you break away from that? Personally, sometimes when I'm struggling, I head towards that mayhem and madness and the people that create that kind of mayhem for me.
Yeah.
How did you break yourself away from that mayhem, I suppose, in your life?
Yeah, I had to change. I had to get rid of all that. I had to change all that, you know. So I completely walked away from that whole thing. You know, I just was done with it, you know. And I just turned my back on all of that and everybody in it. A lot of my family members were all involved in that life. And that was it. I was done with it. You know. So again, this is all about understanding who you don't want to be. And those people in my life had me living who I now today, way back years ago, said to myself, I don't want to be like that no more. I don't want to live like that no more. I don't want to feel like that no more. I knew who I didn't want to be. And so I stuck with being this program and changing to who I wanted to be. And I wasn't even sure who I wanted to be, because that's all I knew. I just knew I didn't want to be that, you know. People say, people always, you hear it a lot in recovery, I want what you have, right? When I got sober, there was nobody in the rooms that had anything I wanted. That's honest to God's truth. I didn't give a shit who was in the room, and what they had didn't impress me. But you know what happened to me? I didn't want what I had anymore. And that's all that counted. Wasn't one person in the room who said, I want what he has, I want what she has, I want what they have. Not one person. But I didn't want what I had anymore. And because I didn't want what I had to do something different. Luke, Jim got a question, then you.
Okay, do you want to go first, or? Jimmy Addict.
Jim.
First, before I ask my question, which has got 2 parts.
Oh, you only get one part per question. No.
I love what you say about finding out who you don't want to be, because I've been reading a bit about things, and I won't mention the book, but it says this,
Yeah.
and then you just brought it to my attention, and that's exactly what I need to do, find out who I don't want to be, before I can open up any doors or create a new me.
Uh-huh.
So, for me, that's got it with you saying. First question, 5 parties. I'm an addict, so straight away it comes to my head. How much of the 7 million quid did you spend on yourself?
7 million quid.
Yeah, that you got for you got 7 million quid off the government. Did you get 7 million pounds off the government?
No.
For the treatment centre.
Oh, no. You mean what my fine was?
No. The 7 million for the treatment centre. He's asking how much did you spend yourself?
No one in the room's getting the joke.
Luckily for them, I wasn't. I get you now. You're talking about the grant money.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, I wasn't in charge of the money. I was young in recovery. I'm sure some of them went a little here like that, you know.
What did for me is you said we got 7
Hey, we're not talking cured here, okay?
we got 7 million quid. And then you said you never worked again in your life. And I thought, no, bet you fucking never.
No, I didn't get any of that money.
Yeah. Serious question.
Okay.
Well, that was just under the radar. I have full belief in my higher power, in my God, because I am a miracle. I've mentioned it. I've done some work with someone today, and they asked me, how do I think I'm doing? I said, sometimes it feels like I'm not doing nothing, but I'm a fucking miracle, because I'm not dead. I'm not in prison for life. I'm not drinking and snorting cocaine. But I lack faith sometimes, so I have the belief, but that 100%, million percent, whatever you want to call it, faith that everything's going to be alright if I lean into my God. I lack that. Any suggestions on how I can boost that up?
Yeah. So this happens a lot to a lot of people in recovery. They kind of skim through the second step. They don't really do much work on step 2. And step 2 is about getting in touch with getting a relationship with the God. Okay? So step 2 is about believing. It's about hope. Right? Believing is hope. And step 3, now you're talking about faith. So people, and later in the steps, you're stepping out on faith, but step 3 is more about faith. And people tend to think that they don't do much work on step 2, so they're right away going, I got to have faith, and they start talking about having faith. And I always ask people, how can you have faith in something you don't believe in? You have to come to believe first. That's why the steps are like this. You come to believe, and then you have faith. You can't have faith in something you don't believe. So your problem is, I've seen this a million times or more, your problem is you need to go back and do more work on step 2. You said you have a good relationship with God, right? So this God of your understanding, who is this God that you understand? What is it you understand about this God of your understanding? Write it down. Look at it. press, change, and rearrange it. Get rid of the negative shit, put all positive shit in there. There's an exercise that we do for the second step that helps you have a better relationship with God. See, so that's one of the answers. The other answer to that same question is you didn't do the work in step 3, which it says in the book in step 3, the first requirement is that we be convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be a success. You've read that? Okay, so what are they saying there? That, are you convinced? I've never met anybody in recovery, myself included, that at that point in their recovery has been convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be a success. Yet, we skip right through there. But the next 2 pages in the book are all about self-will. It talks about being the actor and the director, and right, all of that. It gives us examples of how self-will runs in our life. But nobody spends the time to take a look at how is self-will running in my life. So we go ahead and we go past the 3rd step. We start writing a 4th step, but with 2 things we didn't do. In the 2nd step, we didn't take a look at what we understand about the God of our understanding. And in the 3rd step, we haven't really been convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be. And we say, yeah, sure, my life on self-will messes me up. But that's as far as we go. That's generic bullshit. It don't mean anything. Take a look at it on paper and pen and see how your life and self-will has messed you up over and over again in different instances. Now you'll say, damn. And that's the thing that takes some time. You don't get it right away. Like I said, I've never met anybody that got to this point in recovery in the 3rd step and they're convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be. I was convinced that my self-will was messing me up, but I wasn't convinced that any part of my life run on self-will could hardly be a success. I wasn't convinced of that. I thought I still had something in the bag, my bag of tricks that I could reach down into, because I've been getting out of shit my whole life. I've been dodging bullets, and not only dodged them, got the bullets, and still lived. I've been stabbed twice and shot once growing up. So, understanding that self-will is my enemy, and how does it actually work in my life? Makes me rely upon God. The book says we trust and rely upon an infinite God rather than our finite self. Do you know what that means? An infinite God rather than our finite. Do you know what infinite means? Infinite means there's no beginning and no end. You can't measure it. Right? It's infinite. It has no borders. It can't be measured. Then it says our finite self. So it's saying us, we are limited. There's a beginning and an end of what we're capable of doing and being. So this is right out of the book, right? So the book says we trust and rely upon an infinite God rather than our finite self. So right there it's telling me that in different areas of our life, and everybody is different, but each of us have a limit on what we're able to do and be in a certain area of our life. You may be able to do and be something better than me in one area of your life. But regardless of that, we're all limited. The book says finite self. We're all limited on what. So if you keep reading what I'm talking about, where it says in the book, it'll tell you that we always get in trouble, right? Why? Because we go exceed the boundaries of our finite abilities. And when we exceed the boundaries of our finite abilities, now we're working on nothing. No God, no self. We're way out on, and we always fail. Okay? Well, most of the time we fail. So, again, we have to be convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be a success.
Any part of life?
Any part of your life run on self-will could hardly be a success. You know, so you have to understand better what you understand about your higher power, and then you have to take a look at your self-will, and then your faith problems won't be there. You know, because when something comes up, you automatically, naturally, normally, and instinctively think God. You can't help yourself but to think God when you're in the right frame of mind and you're in the spiritual part of the program.
Your first thoughts, self-will, and then God at the minute.
Well, to define what define who and what your God is, right? Because you're the God of your understanding. So I ask you, what do you understand about the God of your understanding? Write that down and take a look at that. If there's something negative in there, get rid of it. God don't care how you get to him. He just wants you to get to him.
What was it you said? The 3 words? Rearrange, press, something?
Press, change, and rearrange. Press, change, and rearrange. Luke.
Yeah, hi, Luke,
Hello.
you know, for my question, you know, even when Francis say, you know, take a minute for someone, I know there's a cat on a hot tin roof right now, you know, but I've been on a hot tin roof, and there's one step I look at and I think, no. I just think, no. You know, and I'm the kind of addict that goes to the source, you know. I'm not saying this to be glamorous or anything, but I went straight to Afghanistan, went straight to the poppy fields. Cut a real long story short, I'm getting waterboarded by the US Marines, but guess what, Danny? I didn't talk. Step 5 tells me I've got to start to talk. You know, I think I know the sort of place you come from, and it's a violation to talk. I have a code of conduct, you don't talk. I look at that step and I think, well, I've kind of grasped myself up. And it ain't the big thing, it's the little fucking, it's the unbelievable, I can't even put a word to it. But, you know, shit goes down, it's some shit that I'm thinking, and that's that stuff I can't look in the mirror. When I'm shaving, I don't look in the mirror. You know, I don't look at my reflection. I'm standing right here on purpose because there's a white wall in front of me. You know, that kind of stuff, man. You know, and but I realised early on I'm going to be one of these cats that's going to have to do a little bit more than the next man to stay clean and sober. I realised that real early, you know. So my question is it going to be alright if you tell the shit?
Well, the first thing you need to do is get off the cross. We need the wood.
Yeah,
Okay?
I did.
You're, of course, I'm joking, but we're so dramatic, people like us, right?
Yeah,
Everybody in this room thinks they're the most, important person in the room, and that they've done the most, craziest things, and they've been in the most awesome situations, and, we all think that of ourselves. So my life, I'm born and raised in my dad and my uncles. I'm born and raised in a mom my whole life. So I'm taught my whole life how to be a certain way. And I come in recovery and I say, you want me to tell somebody about this shit? And you know what I did? I told somebody about that shit. I went to a priest and I sat down with the priest and I said, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 20 years since my last confession. Lock the door, you ain't going nowhere. And I told that man things that would put me in prison for the rest of my life. But I didn't get sober to spend the rest of my life in prison. That wasn't the idea. But the program told me I had to share that shit. So I had a sponsor. I shared all my fifth step with my sponsor that I could. And when it came to that stuff, I went and saw a priest. And I did confession. And you don't have to be Catholic to do that. I'm Catholic. But you don't have to be Catholic to do that. You could be Jewish. You go find a man of the cloth and go share your shit. And get that off of you. Get that load away. Put that load away. But what step are you on?
I'm still on step 1.
Okay. So here's the problem with people like us. Here we are discussing step 5 and you're on fucking step 1. You need to learn how to get your head to where your feet are. Okay? Because people like us, our feet are here, but our mind is 20 miles away. Going over there with them, doing something. What are they doing over there? I missed them over there. I actually thought the people in the dope house missed me when I got sober. I guess you go by there. I know they missed me. I don't think they missed me. They missed my money, but yeah, you got to get your head where your feet are. You're over here on step 1. No business looking at step 2. No business. Don't worry about step 5. But there are ways to do that. You're not the first person coming in these rooms that did something that it can't be shared with somebody else. Trust me. You're looking at one. I did a lot of things. Not once, not twice, not many times that I can't share with nobody. But I did. Who else got a question?
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
I was just going to ask you if you had a particular step that you personally found really hard.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Or if in all your years of this, you've seen a trend in the step that you found people.
No, because it's a 12-step program. Another mistake we make is I have a whole book out that I wrote that's out there. It's called the 20 Most Misunderstood, Misinterpreted Mistakes of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Long title. But I wrote that because going around doing workshops and talking with people, I've come across the same questions over and the same mistakes over and over again. So the program was never made. You'll hear people share about, oh, that's going on. You got to do the 3rd step there. You got to do an inventory there. You got to do the 7th step there. You got to do the program is not made to take a step and put it on an issue. It's a 12-step program. Every issue needs to go from step 1 to step 12. Now, the only thing you talk about, the issue on the 12 steps, is step 1. The remaining 11 steps are all the same, regardless of what the issue is. For instance, in our book, it talks about alcohol, right? Okay, powerless over alcohol. Okay, so the problem is alcohol, the first thing, right? So it's step 1. But after you go through the steps, now you take the same steps and you just replace the word alcohol with something else. But you still do the other 11 steps. But the other 11 steps, in other words, if you're working the steps on shopping, right? Say shopping is a big problem in your life. You're working the steps on shopping. So after step 1, shopping is not the issue anymore. So when you get to the 4th step, you're not doing a 4th step on shopping. You're doing a 4th step what the book tells you to look for. 4 things the book says to look for in the 4th step. You're doing every step is just the way the book says to do it, not on the problem. Because the steps are about the solution. So steps 2 to 12 is about the solution. Step 1 addresses the problem, and nothing else addresses the problem. After that, it's all about solution. But you have to apply 12 steps to any situation. You can't pick a step and make it better, make things better. You know? That's putting a Band-Aid on a gun wound, a gunshot. And we like to do that kind of shit, people like us. We like to put a Band-Aid. Oh, you shot? Somebody shot you? Let me put a Band-Aid on it. It don't help. Good. How about from the balcony up there? Anybody up there got a question? Go ahead.
James, Alex.
James.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. When you were saying that it's a miracle, and I always think about how I got here and how these last couple of months of me being in recovery, and I generally think it's a miracle. But I don't know if it's my self-critic. I don't know if I'm being too hard on myself, but I heard a lot in the meetings in the beginning about faking it until you make it. And sometimes I question, am I doing it right? Am I doing everything that's needed? Am I just faking it? Because when I listen to the promises, I generally, now that I listen to the promises, things are true from the promises that I never expected. But I still question myself, am I doing this right, this program?
Yeah.
Or am I just going along through the motions? Am I really doing it?
Yeah.
And I wanted to know that maybe, is that just, does a lot of people think like that? 32 years on, do you sometimes question, am I doing the program right?
Well, I've learned to, whatever I do, I've learned to check my motives and then do the best I can. And after I check my motives and do the best I can, whatever happens is none of my damn business. The results of that is not my business. You know, I don't give a shit how you think or feel after I've checked my motives and done the best I can. That's not my business to see how you feel about that. You got your life with your God, I got mine with mine, and I check my motives and I do the best I can, and how you feel about it or how the results of that is none of my business. If the results of that is none of my business, then how you feel about it certainly ain't none of my business. And one of the other things is we got to start learning how to love ourselves. You know, you got to start learning how to treat yourself like somebody that you really love. You know, treat yourself like somebody you care about. Treat yourself like somebody that you really want to be good to and kind to and have a relationship to. First and foremost. Because if you can't love yourself, you can't never love anybody else. How are you going to love me if you can't love you? You know? So stop beating yourself up. Stop doing all that kind of stuff. We're good at that stuff. We're good at beating ourselves up. Start going inside and taking a look and look in the mirror and say, you know what? You got a long way to go, but boy, have you come far. And start looking at the glasses half full. You know, and that you've come a long way. Listen, I'm 31 years, well into my 32nd year. And I still got shit I got to fix. I still got things that's you know, that could improve on. You know, I'm glad I do, because when I don't, I'm probably ready to die. You know, but today, I love myself. I am past all the bad things I've done. I'm past all of that stuff. I could look in the mirror and I could say, you're all right, Danny. Have a good day today. Enjoy yourself today. Love yourself today. Do the right thing and help somebody else. And fake it till you make it. Some people have a problem with that, fake it till you make it. I don't know why. You've been faking shit for the last 20 years. Now you're sober, now you got a problem with that? Come on. Fake it until you make it if you have to. Start looking in the mirror and telling yourself that you love you, that you're good. And learn how to love yourself. And even if you have to fake it, you know, go ahead and fake it. What's the big deal?
I said, like, one kind of other question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So you said about what like sits right with me or what, and with other people. I called my sponsor up the other day, and I asked him a question, and he questioned me on my motive of why I needed this money, and do I really? He said to me, think about it, but does it sit right with you? But he gave his opinion. And I'm thinking, well, it does sit right with me. But then I'm questioning, is that my bad thinking that's making it sit right with me? And should I, if it sits right with me, what doesn't sit right with someone else? Is that still all right? Or is that addictive behavior, thinking?
Well, you could do whatever you got to do. You know, I don't know who your sponsor is, so I would tell you your sponsor's probably right, and you're probably wrong, but I could be wrong in saying that. So here's what it comes down to. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Just be willing to pay the consequences for it. You know, they told me when I got sober, you could go rob a bank if you want, Danny. Just deal with the consequences. You do whatever you want. You start living a different way, you start thinking, you know, I don't want to rob the bank today. Not a good idea. You know? But the bottom line is do whatever you want to do. If it's wrong, guess what? You made a mistake. Doesn't matter. Don't beat yourself up. That's what all part of learning how to love yourself. Mistakes are okay. A mistake is a mistake. It's not a death sentence. Well, it depends what kind of mistake you made. But yeah, just you know, the idea is to have a sponsor, and you know, trust your sponsor, and follow their lead. And you ask him a question, and you do the opposite of what he tells you, now you're sponsoring yourself. And it's like a guy being his own lawyer in court. Not a good idea. You know. So trust this program. Trust this process. You know, of course, if your sponsor is a legitimate guy in the program doing the deal, you know, then trust this process. Ask for help. Follow the help. You know, otherwise, you're sponsoring yourself. Yeah. So that's part of the ism. You know, alcoholism, the ism, ISM, I sponsor me. That's what keeps me sick. So I got to learn how to take direction and follow, even if I think it's not the right thing. You know. But if you don't, you don't. You made a mistake. Maybe what you did turns out right. You know. So don't beat yourself up. Think about it. There's 3 things you can always do. This is a good tool, people, to always use these 3 things. It works early in recovery, and it works for me today, all these years later. Always do these 3 things, and you'll hardly ever make the wrong move. Talk about it, write about it, pray about it. If you got something in your head, talk to your sponsor. Talk to somebody else in the program. Take a piece of paper and write down, if I do this, what good is going to happen, what bad can happen. Get on your knees and talk to God. Talk about it, write about it, pray about it. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to make the right decision almost every time. Unless in your head you're thinking, no, I know better. But the proof is in the pudding right there in front of you. You just heard it from somebody, you just see it on paper, and God's not, you know, God's not, you know, God don't want to hear your bullshit, really, you know. He just, okay, you know. My understanding of God, this is just for me, this is not out of the program or nothing, but I believe that the God in my life is such a gentleman, he's never going to interfere in my life where I don't want him to. And when is it I don't want him to? When I think I know the answer. When I think I'm right. I'm never more closed-minded or cut off from God than when I think I know the answer and I'm right. Then I'm screwed. And my God is going to say, okay, then go ahead, run with it, bro. See how that gets you. Yeah. Then I go back, yeah, shit, I should have thought about that a little more. This is not about perfection. It's not about being perfect. It's about being human. But human who loves themselves. Once you love yourself and you're on this path, you have the ability to love all these people in this room. So I love all of you guys. I don't know you, probably never see you again, but I love you. And then the damn thing, huh?
On Saturday.
What's
On
it say?
Saturday. On Saturday.
Oh, on Saturday. Okay. But you see, the thing is that I love you. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. What you do, what I just said to you, is your business. Because I said to you, I love you. And I will treat you like I love you. Because I love me, and I treat myself like somebody I love. What time is it?
Thanks, Danny. I think we've come to the end of the share time,
Okay.
but not the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Can somebody please read our beautiful promises?
James, Adam,
Yeah.
We've got them.
Yeah.
Oh, have you got them? Oh, I was just looking for them there for a minute. There you go.
I'm James.
God's good.
The promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity. We will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. we will suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises?
We think not.
Not. They are being fulfilled amongst us. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialise as you work.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say on behalf of everyone here and myself, and I'm sure we'd like to give Danny a round of applause for turning up here and giving us a great share. And I'd just like to add, I was waiting for Danny for 2 hours at the airport. I was getting messages off him saying they're checking the customs, and I'm thinking they found out he's a mobster. They want to know where the bodies are buried, and I'm going to get a hand on my shoulder from the Guardia Civil, and I'm going to join you. I nearly ran away 3 times, Danny, in that airport. I've got to be honest, I really left it with that. And with that, David?
My bag was lost, not me.
No, and what happened was the bag, where is it?
It's still in Heathrow.
It's still in Heathrow, but Danny still come along. He said he changed it. He had to shave, got a shower. He said, listen, I'm going to come along and see you guys. And I did pitch him on the fabulous food. Magnus, where's Magnus? I did pitch him on that. So, and the other thing is as well, Danny, I've got to congratulate you, and I think we'll all congratulate you as well, on 31 years in sobriety.
Thank
And with that,
Thank
oh
you.
look! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Danny! Happy birthday to you! That's it! Hooray! Perfect.
Now we have to have cake.
Okay, just before we close off, remember the yellow card, who you see here, what you leave here, please let it stay here.
Yeah.
Okay, here. And if we all get shoulder to shoulder and close in a normal way. Come on, guys.
Come on, Ellen.
Ellen. Come on, John, Ellen. The Vikings. Vikings, they're from Iceland. And Magnus.
Come on.
Listen, I'd just like to say what a wonderful meeting. I've got no words to describe. Thanks very much, Danny. It's more than we ever thought of. And really thank you for turning up here tonight to share that with us. Could you please take us out?
I don't want to take you out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm tired. I need to go sleep. Let's have a moment of silence for the addict and the alcoholic that's sick and suffering. And for those that are going to die tonight from this dreadful disease. Who helps to keep us sober?
God.
God.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
That's right. Good. Let's have some cake.